We're going to have a second summit. We had one in Singapore. What have we accomplished since then?
The North Koreans have accomplished a lot. They were truly a hermit state, Kim Jong-un, a hermit leader. He was not meeting with anybody from outside of his country. Now he's traveling. There's an enormous amount of diplomacy. The best relationship we've seen between North and South Korea, really post-war. So what does that mean? It means they are doing lots of cultural exchanges. They are in economic exchanges. They're talking about building infrastructure, a railway line that connects them. Chinese have engaged directly with Kim Jong-un, even the Japanese at the foreign minister level. The international tensions around North Korea are dramatically lower as a consequence. Trump himself has had a summit. And there's no question that the North Koreans have continued to not test nukes and ballistic missiles, and that's a positive thing. But there's been absolutely zero movement towards denuclearization or even transparency about their program and the extent of it since the Singapore summit. And Secretary of State Pompeo is actually quite frustrated about that.
At the same time, President Trump says he's eligible for a Nobel Peace Prize, and in fact that Prime Minister Abe from Japan has supported him. He's written a letter. He said he got a letter, nice letter, saying he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Is the president right?
Well, first of all, Abe was the right person to ask. Remember, he was the first person to visit Trump. Once Trump won the election, he came over to Trump Tower, brought the golf club. So, you know, Abe will say yes. Secondly, Trump certainly deserves a Peace Prize for North Korea more than Obama deserved a Peace Prize for not having done anything yet. So in that scheme of things, okay. Look, North Korea, what Trump has done with North Korea does not yet merit massive accolades, but we wouldn't be where we are today with all of these countries if Trump had not squeezed the Chinese and engaged in linkage on the trade issue and North Korea. The Chinese, therefore, started really implementing on the sanctions they had promised to implement under previous presidents and never bothered had. That did move the North Koreans to the table.
So, as you suggest, for years and years and years, we've heard the pathway to Pyongyang leads through Beijing. Beijing's the one who really can get something done. Is that still the case? Is China still putting that kind of pressure on North Korea as far as we know?
Yes, they are, and I think that matters. They're the ones with the influence. But, you know, when you look at all these conflicts around the world right now, you realize that the United States, in many of them, is not playing the definitive role that we have historically. Look at Syria and the ability of the Americans to get the outcome that we want. We're irrelevant in that process today. We pull out of the Iranian deal, but everybody else is still in it. They're the ones that are doing the driving. North Korea, this is a very big summit. Don't get me wrong. Trump and Kim Jong-un are going to be meeting. But ultimately, much more of the outcomes around North Korea are now being driven by countries in the region, not by the United States. And so as much as Trump is going to play for headlines and say, I'm the one that made this happen, over time, the returns on that are going to diminish. I
want to return to Syria in just a moment, but first let's stick with China because we have a big meeting coming up just a short time from now in the White House between the president and Liu He, the vice premier from China. What do we expect out of that? Could the president actually accomplish something with this? There's been a lot of criticism, a lot of questioning, but is it possible he's actually getting something done?
He's getting something done. He's forced the Chinese to pay attention and to make some offers that are meaningful to the Americans, not least because they're scared of the potential of escalatory tariffs from the U.S. right now, the deadline being March 2nd. They would put those on, and also because the Chinese economy itself is softening. The extent of the offers that are going to be coming from China will not resolve a lot of the structural challenges we have with that country. The fact that they are a state capitalist economy, the fact that they're putting in enormous amounts of money into AI and developing a technology strategic sector that is going to compete directly with that of the United States and of the West. Yes, they're going to buy soybeans. Yes, they're going to buy LNG. Yes, they will make promises about no longer stealing IP, which they probably won't really be able to make good on. And yes, they probably will open some of their non-strategic sectors more broadly to American firms. I do expect that once Trump and Xi Jinping finally do meet, probably at some point in March here in the United States, that there will be a list of things that will be more meaningful than the new NAFTA, that Trump will be able to say, I got this done with President Xi. But let's be very clear, the U.S.-China relationship going forward is in a very dangerous trajectory.